Welcome back to Health Digest. We are looking at stories that have gone viral online that may have serious health implications. They might have found their way to your WhatsApp or to your Facebook groups, and they may look to be credible. And now we look at a sensitive issue to most ladies especially, and this is skin lightening and the damages that it may have on your skin. Now, this particular story was shared 48,000 times, and it showed photos of skin that was damaged because of skin lightening. Vincent, was there truth to any of these images or to the stories that were related to these photos?
Well, this one was interesting. A lot of times we tend to find that when we do reverse image searches over things like this that are looking to shock, usually it's false. But here we found some credibility, that these were actually photographs of people who had suffered the side effects of the people who had actually suffered the side effects of skin bleaching, and so it was very important for us when we saw that. So you can see this is somebody's back, these are feet, and this is a face here. So we've not really put them in much detail because we don't want to shock our readers too much, but they are very common in blogs that talk about skin. If you read blogs about skin bleaching, you will find these particular pictures, and so that was why we were interested in these particular pictures. So what we found was that actually one of the pictures was in a published journal, a medical journal about bleaching.
So it was actually
true. It was actually true. That photo came from bleaching, and we were able to establish the photographer who took the others, right? So these are credible people who took these photographs.
So when I come across an image like that, how do I reverse search to see if it's actually legitimate? Not just for the skin, but any other photo, because we see so many photos, yes.
So reverse image search is one of a fact checker's most dependable tools. What it's telling you is this image has been published before. So if, for example, I come here, I can come here and look at, for example, there can be any pictures. So here, for example, is a tweet, right? When the fire broke out, this person comes and says, "Spare a thought for the tenants of Malik Heights, which is on fire." Ultra-modern Story 9 commercial complex located strategically along Gong Road and in the prime Adams Arcade area. The situation looks bad. And there are two pictures. There's this one and there's this one. So this is a tweet going out when the fire happened.
When the fire is happening.
The fire is happening. This tweet goes out. So the first thing we did, obviously, is look at the flames themselves, right? And then here's picture one. And this is good now for demonstrating a reverse image search. Here's picture two.
So where's the picture that was tweeted?
Here's picture one and here's picture two. So the tweet is talking about it. A Twitter user posted here.
So you get the image? So
to do a reverse image search, what you want to do, there are many ways of going about it. It's usually carried out by search engines. So the most important, the most readily available is Google. So what you do in this case, you come to images, right? And you press on search by image. So you click here, you go search by image, and then you can do a number of things. You can either upload it from your computer, you can paste the image URL. In this case, I could just come here and copy the image address like that, and I could paste it here, right? And then I say search by image. So it just tells me where that image can be found. And usually when you're talking about a news story, if you can find the image published beforehand, it means that it's not news, it's old. So in this case, you can see pages that include matching images, so all this. So you can see a lot of them actually come from Malik Heights. So once this was posted, a lot of people actually took it and thought it was true, and they were using it.
So where's the original?
So the original image, you have to keep going, and then you can see we went as far as 2011, right? We went as far as 2011. You can see this is, first of all, once you see this published in 2011, you know that it was already online 8 years ago. So it didn't happen tonight. First, so you already know that. Then you keep looking for, so in this case, this is July 31st, 2011. So you keep looking, keep looking. You find over here June 22nd, 2011. And then you find here, so this is, notice this is military pages. If you were to check one of these, what you would find is that, and if you look at the caption, what you will find is that, in this case,
It burns through fog.
so it burns through fog at, it's a Vandenberg Air Force Base. So when that opens, so it will show you the exact caption and who took it. And what clinched this for us was that all the 2011 iterations of this picture had the same photographer. So you can see the caption, very detailed, right? 6:53 Wednesday, June 22nd, 2011. So that's when that happened, right? And this is a US Air Force photograph by Joe Davila. You can see the full sizes there. You can see a whole range of information that tells you that this is likely the image. Now, for us to confirm 100%, we would have to contact the US Air Force and ask them. Sometimes, like in this case, we actually did email them, and we didn't get a reply back, I guess, because they're the Air Force. They don't they don't reply to everything. So, but we know with a very high level of confidence that it was online at least 8 years ago. So there's no way it could have happened in 2019 on Adams Arcade. So we have verified that. We come to our other picture here, and if we do the same, if we copy the image address and we come here, so let's just get back to where we were. So Melbourne Cladding fire. When you look at matching images, it immediately tells you about Spencer Street apartment fire in Melbourne. So this is an Australian newspaper. And when you look at when you click this link, The Age, if you go to it, and one of the reasons I think why it's so high was because Google thinks that this is the one you really need to see. When you look at this, what we actually found was that, you know, he is just one photo, but when we went right through to the bottom of this story, we found that there was actually a series of pictures, more than one, yeah, that had been taken in addition to a video. If you go to the very top, you can actually see the video that was taken. So you can see here, any image, yes, any image that is, you know, particularly JPEG images. So it works. So you can find out exactly when it was posted online. And if it was not posted online recently, then you know that whoever is saying it's news is not telling the truth. Yes, yes. If I come here, so if you go all the way, you can find, you see this one here. This is one of the pictures, but in this case it's actually a composite with these others. But this is one of them. This photo of, you know, somebody's back. Here they are, right?
So this was where it was posted originally.
So these are places where, yes. So these are not No, this is not where it was posted originally. So what happened was we came down here, and you can see, so one of the photos is from a 2016 study.
The other story that I found, in my opinion, ridiculous was that slices of onion on your feet cure all manner of diseases.
Yes.
And people believed it. There's an image of somebody who was tied, or how do I call it, who has wrapped onions on his feet with a cling film. There it is.
Yes.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So what's the genesis of this particular one? Because for any story, there must be some history to it that would sort of give it legs, if I may call it that, for it to start moving and growing into something like this.
Yes. Well, this one, apparently what people were saying was that because the sole of the foot is very sensitive, it has lots and lots and lots of nerve endings.
And they said 7,000.
Yes. So 7,000 nerve endings. So the onion, which has, some good antimicrobial properties, it is known that, if you cut the onion, for example, some of its extract can actually kill bacteria, right? Again, this is a case of the goodness that onions have being vastly overstated. So the onions cannot cure diseases overnight. There's no such disease that an onion can be said to cure. So we took this actually to experts, we spoke to them, and this is a claim that has been tested many times, including by other fact-checking organizations. And they have always found that, onions cannot cure a multitude of diseases, although they do contribute to your health and your wellness, but they do not cure diseases. It's one of those that are categorized as ridiculous. Right? Because, soaking feet will not, there's no proof that soaking, feet with onions will cure anything. There's just no proof of that. So it plays on that.
But what is the genesis? What is the genesis of this story? There's some history to it about the bubonic plague. That back in the day they thought that, if you place onions on the sill of on your windowsill, then it sort of keeps the plague away. And
yes, so some of these issues, they come from a time when medicine was not as advanced. So people back then would not have known about what an onion can actually do. And yes, so people did believe that if it kept the plague away, then it was this lucky charm that would help me. But what medicine has shown us is really that onions do not cure a multitude of diseases.
They should be eaten, not placed on the feet.
Yes, and there is some good they do. They do, the extract of onions has been found. You read journals, you find, literature on the antimicrobial activity of onion extract. It is there. They do kill some harmful bacteria, but they are not known, there is no evidence that they cure a multitude of diseases. Yes.
So now, if I get a story shared with me on WhatsApp, or I get it on Facebook, or I get it on Twitter, Instagram, any of the social media platforms, how do I fact check it in my own space so that I can now choose whether to believe what is there or not? Yes, there are stories that you can check as Africa Check, but on my own as an individual, how do I check whatever information comes to me? Because sitting with a gadget, with a phone, you don't have control over what is sent to you.
No.
But I have control over what I can believe and what I can choose not to believe. Yeah. So how do I check that this information is actually the truth?
When it comes to medical information, especially, one of the things that we want to make sure is that there is a reference to sources, right? So you're talking about a credible source that has said something, because most of the time the people who are saying these things are not the innovators, they are not the doctors, they are just people who are spreading this information. So they have to cite somebody. that person they cite has to be credible. Those sources they cite has to be credible. And not only that, one of the important things people need to know is that when you're talking about something as a cure, that is something that has to be proven by science. So one of the things that we need to be asking is there any evidence that this has been proven to work? And in terms of medicine, that is usually going through what we call medical trials. So that is something that has to be seen to work. When you're talking about people who are medical to have credentials,
they have to be registered and licensed somewhere.
They have to be registered and practice in a certain jurisdiction that licenses professionals. And then the other thing to notice is that websites that tend to spread misinformation are configured differently from websites that don't spread misinformation. Generally, when we're talking about a discovery, if you are a medical person, you have created a medicine, the instinctive thing you would think that people would do is to get as many people to know about not only the cure, but you as a person and your institution as possible. Which means that if you go to a website advertising a medical cure and you can't find a physical address, you can't find contact information, you should be very suspicious, because these are things that should be found readily. These are people who should be ready to talk to you, and they should be able to tell you about where their products are licensed, where they have been looked at and approved for, human use. Because then if they cannot tell you that, you're not really sure that this medicine actually works, and not only works at all, but actually works than the current medicines that are already in use, being used to treat these same conditions.
So one of the questions, okay, we have all this multitude of information online that we can check, but how come we readily believe this easy, one size fits all cures of diseases? How come that we readily believe all these quick fixes to issues more than because medicine there's no shortcut to it.
No.
But how come we readily believe these other ones?
Part of it is, and this is something that the world is contending with, because of what we are seeing around, measles, for example. Part of it is the credibility of certain people. So in the case of, MMR and autism, there was a person who was a real doctor saying that this works. So people believed him.
The study was published in a reputable...
In a very reputable journal, The Lancet, yes. So people believed it, right? And then from there you have people who have political power. So for example, in Italy, the deputy prime minister is a man called Matteo Salvini. Matteo Salvini does not believe in vaccines. And he is a very powerful politician, and people believe him. And this was also what happened in Nigeria with polio. You had influential community leaders saying, don't vaccinate your children. And people followed it through. And it actually has led to a very amusing instance. There was a very powerful politician in Italy who is an avowed anti-vaxxer, so the people who oppose vaccines, who himself contracted chickenpox. This was funny. So the whole of Italy got a light moment to see that, these things are actually true. And, because the misinformation specifically around measles, that, for example, it's good for children to get it so that they can develop the lifelong immunity.
Yes. And that one is actually believed by very many people.
It's believed
that,
by
when you get now, you're set for life.
You're set for life. And one of the things they ignore is that's if you recover. Measles, you can lose your hearing, and they're all, and you could die. So it's not always a good idea to deliberately expose people to diseases just so that they can get immunity. And, measles in particular, we know that it's one of the most infectious diseases. I mean, in our economy in Nairobi today, just think of if you were to get on an Uber, a taxi, and if you have measles and say you coughed in the taxi and you left that taxi, 2 hours later a customer who got in that taxi could still get infected. It's a very infectious disease. So I think the WHO is very right to be concerned about it.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
And I know there are many other stories online. You can
Yes.
look them up. But always be careful and be keen on the information that you believe, especially if they look easy. Think twice. Look at them, do a reverse image search if you can, check, Google. All this information is online, and it's easy nowadays to actually look and see what information is truthful, or if you can get a credible person who's a phone call away, an email away, you can check with them whether the information that you're receiving is credible. Not everything that is shared or that looks to go viral is the truth. And that's all that we had for you on Health Digest. I'm Dr. Mercy Korir. God bless.